Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Thursday, and while we have a little bit of free time on our hands, thought it would be fun to do a social commentary video for the Noel Comics YouTube channel, and also some video game review commentary for the Noel Comics YouTube channel. G4. The video game channel of my early 20s that has made a comeback because, as we all know, nostalgia works in 20-year cycles. Now, I mean, me personally, I always like to live my life where I'm simultaneously living in each decade I've ever lived in. So for me, it's simultaneously the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. That is correct, at least in my head. So, anywho, but G4, very popular in the early 2000s, the aughts. And that was a channel that, if you watched my previous video about the Frosk meltdown and stuff like that, G4 was a place that I, would turn to go hang with my friends and relax and, see, Olivia Munn and, joke about pop culture, see video games, see Cinematheque, see Code Monkeys. And it was just a very relaxing male space for gamers, and it was not. I don't think it was a toxic exclusive space, at least not in my sphere. But that was just women have Lifetime and the True Crime Channel, and the guys have G4 and AEW and WWE. Everyone's got their own kind of gendered wheelhouses that have an open door policy, but just tend to have a certain type of audience. Okay, so anyway, when G4 came back, a lot of people were excited and thinking all right, well, the good old days are back, and rather than having Olivia Munn, we ended up with Frosk and her neck tattoos and angry ranting, which was kind of jarring to some of the viewers. Now, I think personally that Frosk is not a detriment to G4. I actually was watching an episode of X-Play, the new episode, the new X-Plays, and they did a very nice segment on King of Fighters 15, which I'm actually planning to buy later today. Big King of Fighters fan ever since the KOF 94 days. We got that on the good old Neo Geo. We'll be streaming that sometime in the near future. But yeah, no, and I mean, they respected the title. A lot of the time back in the old G4, when it was trying to shift from G4 to the Esquire channel, they'd kind of crap on anime games. But this treated King of Fighters with a lot of respect. Frosk was the host, and it was a good segment. So I think the problem with Frosk was that they kind of put her into a slot that was once designed to attract the male gaze, and her whole shtick is not that. So she ended up getting a lot of unfair attacks because she was set up in a situation that was not conducive to her, her character, her personality, her appearance, stuff like that. But I don't want Frosk to I don't necessarily want her to leave G4 or anything like that. She should not be put in a spot where she's supposed to be the Morgan Webb replacement, and she doesn't look like that because that's just not who she is. But anyway, a lot of, commentary YouTube, people the Quartering or Yellow Flash or Geeks and Gamers or whatever. What's the other one? Clownfish. They were all pretty much apoplectic and, salivating, for the content over the Frosk, meltdown, which was, a total tire fire, as someone who liked G4, I said this in the last video, I was kind of like Michael Jackson in that meme, just kind of eating the popcorn, watching the lunacy. But, in that video I made, I had given G4 some suggestions, namely, number one, to kind of, first of all, get on Pluto TV, okay? The way that they're doing things, with Twitch and YouTube or whatever, it is not lending itself to the original G4 experience of being able to go sit down and turn on your television, and there's G4, and oh, hey, what's on G4? And then something's on G4, and you either watch it or you turn the channel, right? Well, guess what G4 did? They got on Pluto TV. So right here, we got Takeshi's Castle right here on Pluto TV, the G4 channel. So, G4... they at least listen to this fan, and I'm really happy about it, because while I may like some of their content more than other content, it's nice to be able to see what's on G4 and just have it on in the background, turn it on, and see if something cool is on. If it's not, I'll change the channel. If I like it, it's just something cool to have on and watch or have on in the background. So I'm really happy that G4 is on Pluto TV, and it's good stuff. So they should, receive praise for that, listening to fans, and also, having good, marketing strategy. You would know how to promote yourself. Now, here comes the fun part. Let's talk about the e-girls, right? So, the original e-girls, like Olivia Munn or Sarah Underwood or Morgan Webb, like G4 understood that back in the day that, if you had pretty girls in video games, guys will watch your channel, So that was one of the things that G4 learned, and that's how they grew as a channel, okay? But then, this new G4, the new old G4, or whatever, I guess, still got their old logo and very much utilize the legacy of G4, have a lot of the old hosts of X-Play and Attack of the Show on there. No Olivia Munn, sadly. They kind of went through a period where they're like, no male gaze, like, no pretty girls. This is Kotaku here, okay? We are woke. We are shrill, and we are, angry, urbane, social critics who will tear everything down with our rage and indignation, okay? So, that was kind of the vibe. I didn't watch a lot of the early, relaunches of G4, but, you'd look at it, and they'd be, bitching about, the male perspective or something along those lines, and it's like, yeah, not great. And that was, I think, what G4 and the people running G4, that was the world they were a part of. They thought that was profitable, and it absolutely was not. So, you might notice in the last video I did, I'm like, you got to bring back some pretty girls. Like, we need a comforting face that talks about games, makes us feel, like a nice, chill guy space. So what do? They bring in Amouranth. Yeah. So they go right to the top of the ladder, okay? She's either going to be her or Pokimane. I mean, come on. But so they did, one better, So and it's as much a fan as I am of Olivia Munn. I mean, this is like Mary Jane from Spider-Man on to the extreme, okay? So they bring her in, and I didn't even know, I didn't even know who she was before I saw her on G4. I kind of heard her name in various circles talking about Twitch. I remember I turned on G4 and I'm like, what is going on here? And it's they got Consequences, Creed, and Amouranth, and they're joking around on a couch, and it was very much exactly what I asked for. You had the pretty girl, the gamer talk, all that other kind of stuff. And they've even decided to go further with that, with the kind of old school humor, where they have her in a bikini and she'll just be doing silly things that would please male viewers, that were not demeaning or anything like that, but it's okay, well, here I am in a bikini hopping around in a ball pit while we talk about stuff, it's okay, so it's it really, they kind of listened to the fans and shifted to what the fans seemed to want and what they were successful at doing, and in this case, actually doing it, in some cases, better than they did it in the first place, because, just look at her, so, you'd think that this would actually make a lot of the nerd commentary YouTubers happy. And they would say, okay, well, listen, they got off to a bad start, but now they're, they've listened to us and, let's enjoy, but it's not like that at all. It's I think it was Batman, The Dark Knight. And actually, I didn't like a lot of the politics in that movie, but there's this one scene where Batman is talking to Alfred, and Alfred's some people just want to see the world burn, and it's there is no satisfying these content YouTubers, because, they went from saying that, G4 lost its way, and they were right. G4 lost its way, and they got Frosk bitching people out, and no one wants to see that. It's okay. He's well, where's Olivia Munn? It's okay, so you do, one better, and you get that back, and now they're now you got people like the Quartering and Yellow Flash and everyone else screaming G4 are a bunch of hypocrites. They still need to die. And it's what? So now the situation has been laid bare. There's nothing that G4 is going to do. That's going to please these people. That G4 has been labeled a target that must be destroyed. It's good for content. It's been coded as a straw man to beat up. And this is a really bad way to be, because if you're supposed to be a commentary channel, you want to have good discussions on topics. You want to have constructive criticism. You want to have criticism that comes from an honest place. And this is not criticism that comes from an honest place. This is just people looking for outrage clicks and basically cultivating an audience that just listens to whatever you say, and you have this kind of really bad relationship compounding the worst in each other, where you get views by inviting outrage, people watch your channel and get angry, and then your desire is to make them more angry and more outraged so that they keep watching your channel, and it brings out the worst in people, and it's not good, right? So I mean, the clear solution to this, and G4 pretty much already did it, was put Frosk on XPlay, where she's just like playing games and hosting, and she's not really doing, she's just kind of like, she's there being herself. And then get the pretty girls in addition to that, and just have those things run parallel to each other, and everyone's happy. But we're in a situation now where like G4 is catching all this slack for putting Amouranth on, which makes absolutely no sense, because that's what everyone wants to have on G4. And it's ridiculous. So, and you talk about G4 being hypocritical. A lot of these commentary channels are constantly saying, like, never bend the knee to woke people, because they're never happy and they just want to destroy you no matter what. It's like, okay, so who's being the real hypocrite here? Like, G4 bent the knee to you, and you're not doing anything. You're just still wanting to destroy them. It's never enough. You're never going to be happy. You smell blood. And you're just to come off as like a generally miserable person, So while the criticism of woke people who are never happy and just want to bitch about things and destroy things and tear things down is valid and accurate, you're the hypocrite too, because that is you. When you've got the finger pointing at someone, you've got the four pointing back at you. And I mean, there is legitimate criticism you could level at G4 and just say like, well, hey, they're just in it for the money, and they're just chasing their tail, trying to find whatever's going to make a profit. The woke stuff's not making a profit, so now we're going to go back to the old school of the early 2000s G4, the early 2010s G4 kind of thing. And it's like, okay, but give credit where credit is due. If you wanted one thing and you got it, appreciate it. So that's pretty much my take on this. I just get really annoyed at people who, I don't know, make money on misery. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I talk about this content because I think G4 is interesting. It's a channel that I enjoyed watching when I was in my 20s. It's a channel that I enjoy watching now. It's a part of my development as a person. It's an important part of the development of gamer culture. And I think that while, shadowy corporations who are thirsty for money are not good, and they should be called out on their nonsense, at the same time, we need to be clear that if we're asking for something and we get it, then enjoy it, and you don't want to be in a situation where like there's no room for negotiation, because then there's not going to be any progress on anything. Everyone's just going to be angrily screaming at each other, and then the whole society, the whole system is all just going to come down, and nothing is going to be put in its place other than just a smoldering hole in the ground that Yamcha lies in the middle of. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, guys, my name is Noel. You take care, and I will see you in the very near future while you watch Amouranth and Frosk awkwardly stare at each other, across a ball pit. Bye-bye.